Casey Richards here from the CDGA. First and foremost, we hope that everybody is safe and healthy during these truly generationally unique circumstances. With that being said, we just kind of wanted to use this as an opportunity to bring in some special guests who have played a prominent role in CDGA events and programs over the last few years, and hope that this content will help give you a little bit of a reprieve from the stress of some of the daily events going on. We're happy to be joined today by Patrick Flavin, joining us from nice and sunny Arizona. Patrick, of course, the 2017 Illinois State Amateur Champion, also won the Illinois Open that year. So, Patrick, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
So what have you been up to? I mean, that's kind of the question for everybody these days with so many changes going on. What's life for you? What's life like for you down there in Arizona right now?
Yeah, I'm pretty fortunate right now with the weather being good out here. We also just got word from the governor that golf courses were deemed essential. So that's kind of good for my life. I'm kind of relatively unaffected other than just kind of quarantining myself in my apartment with my roommate. But just been playing lots of golf, hanging out, doing some hikes, and then just trying to kind of steer clear from all the action. So it's obviously a crazy time, but definitely fortunate to have good weather out here, still be able to get outside a little bit and play some golf.
Absolutely. And so, we were talking a little bit before this, not only have you had the opportunity to play kind of casually and recreationally, but you've actually been competing in some of the Outlaw Tour events that have been going on, which have to be, one of a handful of live sporting events even going on throughout the country right now. So what's that experience been like, knowing you're one of a very small amount of professional athletes competing right now?
Yeah, definitely fortunate to be playing the Outlaw Tour right now. I was just kind of getting ready for the full season coming up with Latin America as well as the Corn Ferry. So I kind of had spent the beginning of 2020 doing a lot of qualifiers, and so I was just kind of geared up and really excited to be playing full-blown tournaments. So when everything got pushed back and the Outlaw Tour was still going on, I was extremely excited to be competing. And it's one thing to go out and play with your buddies, but it's another thing when you're teaming up in competition. And to me, it doesn't really matter what the competition is. So I definitely I thrive with that type of environment, and then I kind of learn a lot about my game. I think in my development of golf, I've noticed that I play my best when I'm gearing up for a tournament and then testing myself, and then I can kind of reflect on it, and I know what to improve on. So I'm really fortunate that there are these tournaments going on. We'll see if that continues. Obviously, the COVID-19 coronavirus keeps building, so we'll see if that continues. But it's been a great couple of weeks competing out there.
Yeah. So, as we sit here and chat on Wednesday, I know there was some news that started to break on Twitter regarding one of those outlaw events and kind of a mass disqualification that happened that unfortunately involved you. So definitely some unique circumstances there. Can you kind of take us through what the situation was?
Yeah. So I was actually playing with two Corn Ferry players and TJ Vogel, who had that kind of historic Monday qualifier year last year, and then Cody Blick, who's been successful in the Corn Ferry. And these guys had never played the Outlaw Tour. I've played one Outlaw Tour event. And kind of the stem of the confusion was which tee markers we were playing. We're on the third hole of the day, and we just went to the tips on this par 3, which was 222 was the plate. The pin was back, so it was 235. And then we just went ahead, hit our shots. We were on like the 6th hole, and we had a rules official come up to us and tell us we were all disqualified. And I was definitely shocked. I've never been disqualified from an event ever in my life. And I thought there's no way. So we played the next few holes, and like, we're going to work this out. And then we see a big grouping of 6-ish groups. So it was like 18 guys that were kind of huddled around the tournament director, pleading their cases. So we went over there and saw what all the commotion was about, and we indeed were disqualified. The big confusion for me was we didn't discuss which tee markers we were playing on the first hole. There wasn't a tournament information page, and they left the tee markers from the course out there. Ultimately, it comes down to the players, and it was something that I've never experienced before. I would do anything to go back into that moment and tell myself to play the correct tees. So ultimately it falls on the players. It was my fault. But I think it is kind of a testament to the tour that they had. I think it was in total 14 guys disqualified. That never happens in events ever. Still waiting to hear what's going to happen in the aftermath of this. But in terms of me, you got a lot of really unhappy players that I'm not as excited about the Outlaw Tour going forward. We'll see how it gets handled. Like I said, ultimately it falls on the player. It was a very unfortunate experience and something I've never experienced before. But that being said, I will never make that mistake ever again. And there are lots bigger fish to fry going on in the world right now. So a silly misunderstanding like this, while it seemed like a big deal in the moment, after getting away from it, I know it's not a big deal. And you just gotta learn from these experiences. So there'll be more on
Yeah.
that hopefully in the future. So
Yeah. I mean, exactly like you said. I mean, as you begin to embark on your professional golf career, I'm sure it's full of a ton of different types of learning experiences. And, earlier on, you mentioned the Corn Ferry Tour, the PGA Tour Latino America. With those tours, obviously having suspended play, for the next few weeks at the very least, how has that kind of impacted your professional golf career as you've really been trying to get off the ground these last couple of years?
yeah, it's obviously crazy. I don't think anybody is used to what's going on. I wish I was playing in those events. I think there was a stretch of Corn Ferry events where I had a good chance to get in based on my conditional number. How I'm going to be affected to start playing again, I'm unsure of. There's kind of a lot of question marks. But the biggest thing is I was just so excited and ready to be competing. I had an amazing experience on PGA Tour Latino America last year and made some great relationships with the tournament directors, all the rules officials, and then all the players. So we kind of band together down there. We all roomed together, and I loved it. It's run extremely well. So that was just another step up on the Corn Ferry Tour. So I was really, really excited to be competing, and you never know, we might be back at it in late May is kind of the goal now, but I think it might be a little later than that. But either way, I mean, I'm just going to try to use this time to stay sharp. And my ultimate goal is just to try to develop my game and continue to get better year after year. And I know if I do that, then I'll be in good position. So just try to continue to focus on my game.
Definitely. Well, regardless on how the rest of the year shakes out for you, you at least were able to achieve one milestone in 2020 already by playing in your very first PGA Tour event. You Monday qualified for the Waste Management Phoenix Open down there in Arizona, and were able to play with the PGA Tour pros. So take us through that experience from maybe that Monday qualifier when you first realized you were going to be in fact playing in your first PGA Tour event, and then what that experience was actually like at TPC Scottsdale.
Yeah, that was a crazy Monday qualifier. I had my roommate Jack Sparling, who he was my teammate at Miami of Ohio. So we were just having a good time out there, and then all of a sudden I found myself in a 3-for-2 playoff to play in the Waste Management, which was crazy. I was extremely juiced up. I'd say the only time I was that nervous was coming down the stretch of the Illinois State Am a few years back. So I definitely drew on that experience. I just tried to not think about what we were playing for in that playoff, and fortunately I made like an 8-footer for birdie to get in. So that was a thrill. I mean, it was an incredible experience to be living 5 minutes from the course. It was just amazing. I had a lot of family and friends come out. So it's definitely a different world on the PGA Tour. Those guys are treated like royalty. Really anything you could ever need, they have access to. The guys from Titleist treated me great. It was just really, really cool. And then the 16th hole was quite the experience. I'd say on Tuesday when I played it for the first time, it was the most nervous I was. And as the week went on, I got a little bit more comfortable. But the crowd was incredible, and they were so supportive. And I was really excited to be there. And I fortunately played with Victor Hovland, who went on the next week to win in Puerto Rico. And I think a big thing for me was stacking my game against his. And I really felt like I could compete with him, and he's winning on the PGA Tour. So you always say, hey, I definitely can play on the PGA Tour, and you always tell yourself that. But having that experience and really getting to see what these guys do different, and then where I need to develop my game, it gives me a better kind of baseline for where I'm at and where I need to get to. So it was a dream goal, and to do it out here in Phoenix at TPC Scottsdale was just so much fun. So incredible experience. Definitely a life goal of mine checked off the list.
Yeah, well, it was certainly fun to follow along from back here in Chicago. So congratulations on that accomplishment. You've been embarking on your professional golf career for a couple of years now. What would you say some of the biggest misconceptions people may have when they hear the phrase, you're a professional golfer? What's maybe a misconception or two that people may have about the professional golf life?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest misconception is when you say you're a professional golfer, it sounds extremely glamorous. And the PGA Tour, don't get me wrong, is extremely glamorous. Those guys live the life. But the mini tours, the qualifiers for Latin America, Canada, and the Corn Ferry, it's really stressful. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of planning that goes into where you're going to play, what you're going to be playing in, which course you're going to play, if you're going to work on the side, how you're financially going to support yourself. There's just a lot that goes into it that you need to take care of before you turn professional. And I fortunately stayed amateur that summer after I graduated college, and that was a really good time for me to figure out where I wanted to live, what tour I wanted to play on, and then I just really worked on my game. So I'd say the biggest misconception is just all that goes into being a professional golfer. For me, I was so spoiled growing up in the North Shore and playing the Merit Club. I had a great place to play and a lot of people who supported me. And then going to Miami, Ohio, our Coach Zedrick, kind of took care of all the logistics, and we just showed up and played golf. So the biggest learning curve for me was just taking care of all the little stuff to make sure that all I could do was focus on golf. But that being said, I mean, I absolutely love golf. I love the grind of it. I like the travel, and it's just extremely rewarding when you play well after everything that goes into it. So I couldn't be happier doing what I'm doing.
Definitely. So you mentioned earlier, your experience playing in the state AM, winning that in 2017. You also alluded to your college career where you had a lot of success at Miami, Ohio. What are some of the lessons that you continue to draw back on from those days as an amateur golfer, as a professional today?
Yeah. Well, I felt like the 2017 State Am really changed a lot about how I viewed myself. I had seen Nick Hardy win the year before, and I thought that was incredible. And he's always been a guy that I've been kind of chasing. I play with him a lot, but he's always been kind of the next level. So to then win the State Am in 2017, I really, at that point, really believed that I was one of the best players in the state and that I could compete as a professional. It was also the first time I had ever felt that many emotions on the golf course, battling with Jordan Hahn down the stretch. There was so many twists and turns, and I was just really proud of how I hung in there and got it done. So that is something I still draw on to this day, because that is the most nervous I've ever felt on the golf course. And then the time at Miami, it was just great. I had a great coach and Coach Zedrick, some really good teammates that I'm still really close with today, and a lot of them from Chicago. Brian Orr is my roommate all 4 years, and I'm trying to convince him to move out to Scottsdale and be my roommate again. So him, along with all the other guys at the Merit Club and all my teammates, we created amazing relationships. They're my best friends, but we really pushed each other golf-wise. So I wouldn't be where I am today without Miami, Ohio golf, that's for sure. And definitely, I was extremely fortunate to win the State Am, because that's something that I have brought on my entire career since.
Great. Well, Patrick, thank you very much for taking the time. Glad to hear that everything is going well down there and that you're still able to golf. No golf here in Illinois, unfortunately, for at least the next few weeks, but glad that you're still able to hit the links, and best of luck with everything moving forward. We've enjoyed following along with your career up to this point. We will certainly continue to do so in the future.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.